comments here. This is from Art Vandelay. It says, so great to see two legends, Hacksaw and Coach Kentera. Then Callan, Max Sports says, some San Diego and SoCal sports talk radio legends on the air today. Great to see you, Coach.
Yeah, maybe we should start our own show every day.
Hey, maybe.
Thank you.
Let's go here to Michael. He says, any chance the Padres could re-sign Blake Snell? Very interesting that he is not signed so late in spring training.
Well, they only have $18 million left. Their payroll right now is $149. It's $101 million below what it was a year ago this time. They can't go over the first threshold. They've already, this has been a brutal year. They lost the $60 million TV contract, Coach. They owed MLB $40 million in penalties. They have to stay below, and it's obvious with the pass in Peter Seidler that they've decided to take the budget even farther down. So they won't get involved with Blake Snell. They had an opportunity. They offered him $20 million when they qualified an offer to him, and they've responded in a negative fashion immediately. So that's not going to happen.
It doesn't look like it's going to happen. This Blake Snell thing is every day that goes by, I'm finding it more and more fascinating because, even though he's been working out up there in the Pacific Northwest, I know he's been coaching a bunch of kids. His dad, I think, still coaches like youth league baseball up there. You're not thrown to a major league catcher. You're not in major league camp. And, a lot of times, Lee, when even the old guys are working out, then they come into camp late. They're always playing catch up, and then they try to do too much, and they have a setback, a sore elbow or a sore shoulder or something starts nagging. And right now, I think Blake Snell, unfortunately, is kind of setting himself up for a bad season.
Yeah, and he's had erratic seasons sandwiched around the two unbelievable Cy Young Award seasons. You and I are both baseball junkies. I tell John Riley this all the time. We have not seen a pitcher this dominant, 1.20 ERA from May 1st on. This dominant since Bob Gibson in 1968. His ERA was 1.12, I believe.
Yeah, Bob Gibson. I got his autograph once upon a time. Boy, I was kind of scared to ask him for an autograph, but he ended up being a really, really nice man and started asking me if I played baseball and all that. I met him out at La Costa during the old Astrojet where they used to have major league players and NFL players. They got Mickey Mantle's autograph, Willie Mays' autograph, all on the same day. But Bob Gibson was really cool. But, as far as Blake Snell, I know they used the walks against him last year. He walked 99, led all of baseball. But then you take a look at his ERA. I mean, that shows you just how dominant he was. He walked 99 guys last year, and only 12 guys scored. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Yeah. Next question.
Okay. Let's Actually, I want to get this one in here. It's about Blake Snell, but this is from Cody, and I want to thank him for the $5 super chat donation. He says, hope all is well. What are you hearing with Snell? Are the Yankees truly in the race for him or being used to higher the price?
Well, as we alluded to in the early segments, the problem with the Yankees is they did offer him a 6-year, $150 deal. It was rejected. Scott Boras came back and said, we wanted opt-outs. And the Yankees said, if we sign him, we have to pay a $33 million tax penalty on that contract every year. We have to forfeit 2 draft picks. We have to forfeit international money. We don't want to have to give that up with the risk that he could opt out. No opt-outs at Yankee Stadium. So that's why he's not signed there. The Phillies reportedly made contact over the weekend, Coach. All of a sudden, Philadelphia gave the mega contract early this morning to Zach Wheeler. They look out of it. The Giants have spent a lot of money, but they got the same opt-out problem that you're going to get a guy for 1 year at a lower price, and then you're forfeiting draft picks to have him vacate. The way Scott Boras is doing business, I don't think it represents the best situation for Blake Snell because most everybody's money is spent.
When this free agency got underway, Lee and John, I thought that Blake Snell, when I heard about the Yankees and you heard about the Phillies and you heard about the Dodgers initially before they went after Yamamoto, I thought he was going to go to the Giants.
So did I.
And I'm, even though they've signed Soler and they've signed Chapman, they brought the center fielder in from Korea. They've got to do something up there, even more to get that fan base back. They had a lot of empty seats last year, and they've had the last couple of years. it wouldn't surprise me if they worked out a deal, but I still think the Yankees might come back with a shorter deal and try to get him in under their Yankees. Their farm system's pretty frugal right now, and they could afford to give up a draft pick here or there, I think. But as far as luxury tax, I don't think anybody wants to pay that. But, it's going to be interesting to see where he goes, how long he's going there for, and how well he produces in his first year with this late start.
And this is a different environment to pitch at Yankee Stadium than pitch in small market San Diego, where everything is beautiful.
And the thing is with him, he's a guy about being comfortable. And going to Yankee Stadium, even though he's pitched there a lot when he was with Tampa, I don't know if day in and day out if he wants to live in New York and live that kind of life.
And it's fascinating.
Guy.
Fascinating. Juan Soto goes there. He thinks this is going to be easy.
Yeah, he's there for 1 year.
If he's there and hits 226, it's not going to be like being in San Diego hitting 226 for the first half
fly
of the season.
balls to right field to go out in that ballpark.
Good deal. We move on. Next question.
Okay. Let's Art Vandalay jumped in here again. Another super chat donation. Thank you, Art. Because I love Coach. Don't you agree that we should sign Bauer? All those women are liars. Also, what's your opinion on Kim refusing to learn English?
Well, boy, that's a hot button. This might explode a bunch. We might melt the computers down now, in addition to John's microphone. Bauer has paid a terrible price for stupidity. Bauer can pitch. You'd have to explain yourself to your fans and society. But if it's all about winning and you can formulate a contract that keeps him on the straight and narrow, because he's got to reestablish his credibility as a pitcher, but also as a person. I would take a run at him. John and I have argued back and forth. I think the Angels, who really need a front-end guy, should take a run on a one-year contract with Bauer because he's 83-56 as a starter. Is he a flake? Yeah. Has he gotten himself involved in a bunch of junk? Yeah, I would do that. And in terms of the I had an issue in the Padre clubhouse. And there was one stretch 3 years ago. They had 18 of the 25 guys didn't speak English because of the tremendous Caribbean connection. And I don't understand why these guys don't want to learn English, A, to make it easier, but also to make themselves a marketing gem because now you're a two-language guy.
So why do they need to be a marketing gem when they're already making big money?
Because it's all about the bank. Okay, your thoughts on Bauer?
Well, if I was the general manager of the Padres, I would do my due diligence on that. I would look you're looking for ball players in any way you can get them. And I mean, there's a lot of baggage there. That girl's from San Diego that he was involved with. He's a knucklehead. There's no question about it. He's a big knucklehead dating back to his days at UCLA for that matter. I don't think he had any type of these problems back there. But he's not behind bars. I do think, and I'm a big believer that people do deserve second chances. I'm not sure the Padres want to deal with all the PR. They've got enough of problems trying to put their 26-man roster together. And I don't know if they want to. I think the other thing, if I was a general manager, I got to go to my leaders of my ball club. I got to go to Bogarts. I got to go to Machado, and I got to get a little bit of a feel on how they would feel because they're the ones that are going to have to be on the fire line. I can do the press conference, but day in and day out, I'm not going to necessarily step to the mic. But people are going to be in that Padre clubhouse, and every player on that team is going to have to answer, what do you think about Trevor Bauer? So it'll be interesting. I do think he's going to get an opportunity. It may be a little bit of a late start, but I don't disagree with you. Going to Anaheim may not be the worst case scenario because of the media market there. But I think that story here to San Diego, a little too close to home, I think, for the Padres to go that direction. And I don't think they want to deal with the PR considering they're just trying to get their ball club together.
John, carry on. Next question here.
Okay. Let's go here to Neil. And this is a great comment. He says, it feels great hearing Saw and Coach on the same blowtorch again. Thank you, YouTube and Facebook. Just need to get Kaplan and Darren Smith.
Tell you what, John and I have talked radio for a long time because if you stay in one place long enough, they are going to get you, they be in management. And we've talked about all the really good people that are, quote, free agents. Some are doing these, some are out of the business completely. It's too bad. And I'll just make this comment. Historically, I have so many broadcast people from outside San Diego who've always come to me and said, 690, what you guys built. How did you do it? And it was just a combination of a wide variety of confluences that fell into place. Ownership that loved sports talk radio. It was the beginning of sports talk radio. We were the first one on the street corner to do that type of sports talk radio. And they fell into hiring really quality guys that evolved. I mean, you think back, I was the first component. And then you think about how they hired other people. You know, you came on a bit later with your repertoire of high school football. Steve Hartman was not the guy they were supposed to hire. They were supposed to hire Bud Ferrillo. They hired Hartman from LA, and then they hired Chet Forty from New York. And after Chet passed, I introduced them to Philly Billy Werndell, and we were off to the races. And there was, and then Jim Rome came as a nighttime sports reporter, then a sports talk show host, then a weekend guy, and he became a mega superstar on the network. And we had Mason and Ireland and some other really good guys. I don't think it was by any grand design. I think they knew, because I was the first guy coming in, they knew what they wanted to do, and then they came upon all these different people. And you look back at the run we had from, when did it launch? 1990?
1990.
From 1990 till, unfortunately,
my last day
208.
at 690 was December 27th, 2002. And that's when our contracts weren't renewed. And, but Lee, 690 was special, and it'll never be recreated. I mean, you mentioned the guys, and, we're friends with all those guys to this day. And I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with the listeners. Not everybody always got along there.
Hell no.
I mean, everybody was fighting. I mean, there was no Twitter. There was no, the internet kind of was starting to come in the, mid to late 90s. But I mean, we had to grind. We had to spend a lot of time on the phone. I mean, you were always on the phone. I was always on the phone. Everybody was on the phone that wanted to get quality, top-notch stories. And, there was a competitiveness between all of us, quite frankly. I mean, we wanted to get the story right. And everybody was competing, and, everybody wanted to know what you were doing with the high-speed sports wire and all that stuff. And, I'd come in and after you at night, and, stories would be coming down, at 8:00 at night, and I'd be on top of that. But, that was a unique group of guys. And then, when 690 went away, John Lynch's non-compete was over, and we most of us went back to work in March of 2003 until I stayed there till 2015, and I went and did some other things, and then had my last radio gig. So it's been interesting. Met a lot of great people, and Kaplan, Scotty and Darren. I had a good conversation because I filled in on Darren's show a couple of weeks ago. Those guys are doing well.
Yeah. It's fascinating to think back, and all the people, the radio industry people from the outside, I interact with these people and say, how did you get there? How did you do this? What made it work? Well, it was a combination of
a lot of hard work. That's for sure.
Yeah. And we never, I don't think any of us at 690 thought we would leave a legacy behind that we did. And we really did. And it was right group of guys, some by design, some they fell into and discovered. Right signal, 77,000 watts. I mean, I got people to this day that listen to us in Oregon and the state of Washington, up in Vancouver, and having the right play-by-play. And our team, quote, the Chargers got really good. And our team, the Aztecs, had the historical run with Marshall Faulk, and we were all wrapped around that. So it's interesting to hear from people out of town in radio executives, program directors that I interact with that say, how did you guys do this? Because everybody's tried to do it, and nobody's ever been able to recreate what we did. 9-hour game days, NFL draft shows, and,
I love those draft shows.
Broadcasts from spring training in the Cactus League, or when I got to go to Vero Beach. I mean, it was just at Dodgertown. It was just.
Yeah, I thought the 690 guys, when they sent you to Vero Beach, they told me they sent you on a one-way ticket. We didn't expect you to come back.
I came back on the plane. I saw the ratings without me. Felt I'd need to bail them out a second time. But it was really, really special. So that's the great heritage, even though we're doing something really different now with podcast and we have Zoom and we have all.
Yeah, but you talk sports. A lot of these shows now don't talk sports.
They talk to each other about non-important stuff.
Yeah.
Amazing. Couple more here before we put the lid on this John Riley.
All right. Let's talk a little Dodgers here. We'll go to Dave. And he says, in the postseason, Dave Roberts takes his orders from the computer brains up in the GM's office. The Dodgers are like a video game team. Dave Roberts is a hell of a manager.
He manages egos really well.
Yeah, he does.
And now there have been issues. I was just aghast at what's happened in postseason play, the use of the pitching staff, who got yanked early, who got shoved into the bullpen in a different role, etc. That's bothersome. I don't know if that's ever going to change because that seems to be the way organizations are running organizations now, the analytic guys.
Yeah, well, you got a lot of people that have never played the game. They're playing video games up there, and it is what it is. And I think all of us old school baseball people, we got to face it from time to time. And some of those numbers really do tell you a good story, but at the end of the day, they don't tell you what's in your chest or in between your ears. So you got to go with your gut feeling. I mean, that's why Bruce Bochy is so successful. There's nobody that handles a bullpen better than Bochy. He does a great job handling a pitching staff. And at the end of the day, I guarantee in the World Series, he may be looking at numbers for matchups or his relief pitchers against certain hitters. But at the end of the day, he wants to put a guy out there on the mound that can get people out. And he's going to go with his old gut feeling.
From the gut.
Absolutely, 100%.
Next question, John Riley. Let's move on here.
Okay. Well, here's a fun one here, and this is from Normal Heights. And Coach, I'll let you read this one. You can see that?
Yeah. Normally, I'd be happy with the Dodgers.
No. Right here. It says you got to have some veterans coming off the bench.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And that's you know what, people joke about that, but I've been around baseball my entire life. Even before I got in to broadcasting. I mean, that's what I did for a living for a number of years. Coached high school, college, worked as a professional scout for a couple of different organizations, evaluating players. And I watched a lot of players over the years come up from the minor leagues, and they don't get an opportunity to get those 4 at-bats every night. They're getting that 1 at-bat in a critical situation against a closer, and you're setting those guys up to fail. If you're going to bring a young kid up, you got to throw him in there, let him get 12, 15, 20 at-bats. If he's 0 for 20, he's 0 for 20, but you got to let that guy go back to the clubhouse and know the confidence his name's going to be in that lineup again the next night. And that's why I think if you've had guys on the bench that have been there, done that, they can make the adjustments. They've shown they could make the adjustments over a number of years at that level. And that's why it's crucial to have good, solid guys that have been there, done that, coming off the bench, not some rookie up from El Paso.
And the key word in the conversation is chemistry.
Oh, chemistry is a big part of it. And, everybody now, because Bob Melvin's no longer here, everybody wants to point the finger. Melvin didn't do this. Melvin didn't do it. Bob Melvin's a good manager. Mike Schilt's an outstanding manager. And, they may be saying the same thing about Mike Schilt 2 years from now if they don't win or get to where they want to go. But, Bob Melvin, there's nothing wrong with Bob Melvin. He did a good job. And I think the players, they like playing for him. I don't think he grinded on them. Some managers will grind on you. I don't think Bob Melvin was a grinder. I think he got frustrated at times with
upstairs.
With upstairs. Absolutely. And you know what? General managers and managers, they have a tendency to butt heads because they're competitive, and everybody in baseball or in sports, they always think they're right. And, that's why when Kevin Towers and Bruce Bochy were here, not that they wouldn't get in arguments and that, but those guys were like the best of friends, and they always worked it out, and they always had the ball club as the number one priority, not their egos.
Okay, a couple more here. Fans Forum and social media, John Riley.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say this is awesome, to have the two of you together, because there's so many people in Fans Forum and that are all freaking out. And I'm only cherry picked a few people. I mean, there's hundreds of people in this chat line right now. And they're all loving seeing the two of you guys together. So this is cool.
I haven't seen Saul in a while.
Yeah, it's good.
Good to see him.
All right, let's go here to let's talk to some of our fans up in Canada have some comments here. And it says from Matt, what do you think about the trades the Raptors have made? Will Canada's team become a contender anytime soon?
Well, they've shifted a lot of players. They've run a lot of players out of Toronto. I was kind of absolutely stunned the Raptors got rid of Fred VanVleet. He wound up in Houston and has done some really good things. Of course, prior to that, Kawhi Leonard exited too. It's intriguing. I mean, they keep trying to make deals that keep churning it. They're good, but they're not Boston.
No,
they're good. Might not be the LA Clippers. I mean, we saw what Boston did to the Golden State Warriors over the weekend, beat them by 52. I think
they
it
were
was.
up at by 46 at halftime.
Yeah,
I watched part of that game.
Yeah, John was in a foul mood. I couldn't even get him to text me back.
That was unbelievable
In the course of that. So, the NBA is all about the big three on all these star clubs. I think the NBA's got a problem, John. First of all, style of play. Defense has become optional in the NBA. That's a negative. I think the other thing is now the players and the agents run the league. Adam Silver doesn't run the league. The general manager of your team doesn't run the league. Everybody's got to have a big three. So therefore, you got 5 clubs that have big 3 stars, and you got 25 other teams that have no prayer, no chance.
Rich Paul and Clutch Sports, they
Yes.
seem to be making the rosters for everybody these days.
So the NBA landscape has changed, and I don't, once the toothpaste is out of the tube, I don't think you get it back in, and I don't think the NBA reels the sport back into control.
I mean, there's some incredible players. I mean, Steph Curry's the greatest shooter I've ever seen. I mean, and how quickly he shoots. I mean, he barely gets the ball in his hand and it's off. I mean, LeBron James is incredible. I mean, at 39 years of age doing what he's doing. I'm a big, strong guy. I mean, there's some incredible players right now, but man, they don't play hard night in, night out. They don't play tough, hard-nosed defense. And anytime you hit a guy above the shoulder, you got to go over and have a replay. I wonder like guys like Rick Mahorn and Bill Lambier, when they see it, they used to crush guys going to the basket.
Bad boys.
They'd be over there looking at that replay for 48 minutes during a basketball game. It's just a different game, but not real physical. And, I was watching the other night because everybody's been talking about how many points are being scored. Well, you know what? Guys are going to be able to get jump shots if you lay off them by 6 feet. You got to get right up in their chest and make them go around you, or at least work for that jump shot.
The problem is there's so many great athletes. They're so quick. They will go around you.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not they get killed in the paint, that's another discussion. John, what else you got there?
Okay, let's get a few more here to get to. And again, there's just so many people here that are just so stoked to see, Coach and Hacksaw. Here's Gary. He says, Coach, keep Coach, a 3-guy Monday Night Football style. And I got a few more here that I want to get on. He says, great to see Coach and Hacksaw back together again. There was another one here that a guy had a comment about. Where was it? He said he remembered seeing you playing basketball at Peterson Gym at UCSD. I guess it's some promotion back in the day.
I played in a couple of charity games. There were a couple at UCSD, and there was another one at San Diego State. I played for cancer. A guy, Cordy Miller, who played for me at Torrey Pines, he went on and played at San Diego State for 4 years. He had a game for 3 years to raise money for cancer. One of those games, Mark Harmon from NCIS, the former UCLA quarterback, he played in that game. Chris Dudley played in that game. The late Sean Rooks, who played in the NBA in Arizona, was in that game. We had a bunch of different people. It's kind of a funny story. Sean Rooks, one year we were playing what is Lion Tree Arena now, but it was Remax Center when they first opened it. And we were playing, and I hadn't played in a number of years, but went out there and supported Cordy. And Chris Dudley, who played a long time in the NBA, went to Torrey Pines. I'm playing with Sean Rooks. Me and Sean Rooks are on the same team, and Dudley's playing on the other team. So Dudley goes to go for a rebound. Dudley's about 6'11". I'm 6'7". And so I box him out real good. And he goes, God, John, he goes, take it easy. I go, hey, Dud, I may be slow, old, and fat, but I'm not going to let you get the better of me tonight. And what was kind of funny, when I first got into coaching, I was still in college at USIU, and I was coaching baseball at Torrey Pines. And during lunchtime, we would always play pickup games with the coaches and the better players at Torrey. We play for 30 minutes, get a pretty good run in. And Chris Dudley was a young kid. He didn't play varsity basketball at Torrey Pines until he was a senior, and ended up going to play for Dick Cooch at Yale. But Dud would always sit in the stands and drink his little carton of milk and his little brown bag lunch with his high tops on, and nobody'd ever pick him because he wasn't a real good player. And then a guy ends up going and playing a dozen years in the NBA. And he lives in San Diego, and he's a great guy.
Speaking of Torrey Pines, John and I have talked about this. Isn't a Scott Pollard story unbelievable? I texted him and I sent him some videos of Scott Pollard having a heart transplant, and then they had setbacks. He had 2 more procedures. Now, this week, on the weekend, he checked out of the hospital with the whole hospital staff walking down the hallway, and he rang the bell at the Vanderbilt Medical Center. and it is so moving. So
You
it
know,
was cool.
well, I'll tell you, Scotty came to Torrey Pines. I coached one of his older brothers. He had several brothers, and they all played college basketball. But Neil Pollard was one of his brothers, and he played for us his senior year at Torrey Pines. And we had a great team. We won our league title. We went like 28-3, and he was a 7-footer. And then Scotty came a few years after that. And there were a lot of things that went on. Mr. Pollard had passed away. He was working for Solana Beach, the city of Solana Beach, and he passed away, and the family moved up to Washington for a short period of time. So he played his junior year at Torrey, didn't play his senior year, but then came back and played. After basketball, he transferred back to Torrey so he could graduate from there. And I remember I was coaching baseball at the time, and I heard this knock on the locker room door. So I ran down there. All of a sudden, it's Scott Pollard. He was trying to get in the boys' locker room at like, 10:30 in the morning. Hey, Scotty, welcome back. And, he's a great kid. The kids at Torrey Pines absolutely loved him when he played there. He was just a good guy. Family were good people. And that really saddened me when I heard that story, about 3 months ago. But the way that story started out, looks like there's going to be a very happy ending.
And the NBA interceded. They could not find a heart donor because he's such a big man at 6'11",
Yeah.
270. They needed a special type donor, and the NBA used its medical contacts to find the heart. And I mean, I was shocked. He
looks really good too.
Yeah, he had the surgery Friday night at Vanderbilt. Saturday morning, I saw a video of him actually standing with all the medical trees.
He's a big boy to get up.
And walking. And his wife kept sending future videos. And then there were setbacks, and she'd alert us to the setbacks. And to see him walk down the hallway at the medical center
With
on
the two
this
girls,
past week,
yeah,
with his kids and ringing a bell, which means I'm going home. Just amazing. Now, setbacks can still occur. Rejections can occur. But boy, what he's accomplished in the last couple of weeks.
But looking at his face,
yeah,
I mean, big difference. I mean, just a big difference. And that's the smile I remember when he was a 15, 16-year-old kid at Torrey Pines High School.
Okay. John Riley, got a couple more you want to get to here?
I do. I got a couple more people that are just so excited to see the two of you together. Charlie Long says, Coach Kentera and Hacksaw has to be the Mount Rushmore of San Diego sports radio.
Yeah, damn right.
And then over here, Tracy says, Hacksaw and Coach Kentera, fond memories. Jeff says, man, Coach was right. So-called sports talk now has become music trivia games, favorite restaurant food reviews, and daily Taylor Swift Kelsey updates. Give me back the 690 days.
There's so much noise out there. That's the problem, is how do you pick and choose? When we did it, we were the first one on the street corner to do it. And that's what made it uniquely exceptional.
Lee, my thoughts on it, I mean, everybody does their show differently. You and I maybe are a little
old school.
Well, old school, but I mean, we love sports.
Yeah.
I mean, we still get excited about going down and watch a San Diego State football game on a Saturday night, where a lot of people nowadays, they'd rather, either watch it on TV or go to a cocktail party. And I've never been that way. You've never been that way. And I think there's still some guys on the air, or, locally as well as nationally, that still, really love sports for what sports is all about. But there are also a lot of guys doing what we do now that don't know.
Masquerading.
Well, a lot of them never even wore a jockstrap, to be honest with you. And they are masquerading. And that's why they don't like to take a lot of phone calls.
So it was a different time. We did a really good job at what we did. Would have been nice to be appreciated. Do you know, and I've mentioned this to Coach. So I spent 28 years doing sports talk radio here, San Diego at 690, 1090. And then I went and did stuff for 3 years on the baseball channel on Sirius XM. Not one of the guys that I worked for, talking management, not one of them said, thank you, good job. How can that be? After you put up ratings and revenues and you do all this. And my lasting moment, when my contract expired finally at 1090 and prior to that 690, was walking into the general manager's office, and we're making a change. Here's the brown envelope. Sign here. That's my lasting memory of working for management. Geez, that's too bad. It shouldn't. I don't think it should be that way.
Yeah, it is what it is. And, we've all been there. If you haven't been fired or let go from radio, they say you haven't really been in radio long
Or
enough.
it's coming.
Yeah, or it's coming. So, hey, onward and upward. Life is
Yep.
good. And it's been great. You got a couple more there, John. I'm kind of enjoying this. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. All right, maybe get some social media comments.
My wife is very happy that I'm talking with you guys today. She's tired of me giving her scores and rundowns of all the Lakers or the Padres in spring training.
I know, it's on social media. You always believe what's on social media, right?
Yeah.
She tweeted out, "Get him out of my kitchen."
Yeah.
All right, let's go here, get some social media comments. Talk second chances. I thought this was a good one from Sharon. He says, you keep giving these guys a second chance, talking about Ariza and Bauer. You send a message to every single person that you can get away with bad behavior if you were good enough.
Well, the only response would be these guys did pay a price. Bauer lost all of his endorsements. He lost $31 million in salary. He has lost 2 years of athletic ability you don't get back. Ariza's lost 2 years of pay. 2 years of athletic ability. As good as he might be with Kansas City, that's 2 years of athletic ability, earning power, and playing in a league you can't get. They paid a price for the stupidity. I went crazy. John had to sit me down, Coach. I said, my whole life's been in the National Football League. I can go through every roster, and I can tell you the guys that really committed some serious offenses that are playing in the NFL. DUIs, domestic abuse, guns, cocaine, PEDs. They paid a penalty, they're back. I thought Ariza got blacklisted. I thought he got blackballed. I thought it was a real shame. And since when, this will be insulting to say, I've said it before, since when is being stupid the thing that keeps you out of the NFL? Ariza, what he did was stupid at the point of his senior season. But I look at the rosters in the NFL, and there's a lot of guys that are really bad things, have been charged, convicted, served time, and are back in the league. That kid should have been allowed back in the league. Once the charges were dropped, the lawsuits were settled.
Well, neither one of these guys have ever been incarcerated.
Yeah.
Okay. So, it comes down to the discretion of an organization if they want to go that direction. Kansas City, obviously, watched, their personnel people. All these personnel, they've been watching what's going on here in San Diego. And, I'm a big believer in second chances, but, you've got to still do your due diligence. You just don't say, hey, this guy's going to get a second chance. You got to do your work behind the scenes before you ever give him that second chance.
All right, John, next question, next social media comments.
Sure. And for the record, I'm supportive of Bauer and Ariza being back. Okay, let's go here and talk about the NFL draft and talk about Derek May. Not Derek May, Drake May. Drake May, pardon me. May's game is a combo of Rivers and Ben. The funny footwork, throwing motion, and release of Rivers, the size, strength, and athleticism of Ben.
He had to do a lot of that creative stuff, and he looks funky at times because he wasn't on a great team. He made that North Carolina team a really gifted team. You put him in a structure. Look at Roethlisberger became coming out of Miami of Ohio. He was just a wild-armed kid who was big and could run some, and they made him a great quarterback in Pittsburgh. It took him 18 months, 2 years, 2 seasons to finally become special. So May could be the next, John and I talked about this last week, the next coming to Ben Roethlisberger, and I would assume he's going number 2 right after Caleb Williams.
Well, I would certainly think. In fact, I remember talking to Tom Telesco at the Holiday Bowl a couple of years ago when North Carolina was here and they played Oregon. Telesco was there that night, and I guarantee he wasn't there to watch anybody else other than that quarterback. And I do agree with you, Lee. He'll be the second player taken behind Caleb Williams. But I like him. I think he can move around well. He's got a really good arm, and looks like he's got good vision. Looks like he sees the field pretty well. Also,
it'll be interesting to see what happens in number 3. Jaden Daniels has rocketed the charts. He was kind of a one-man gang at LSU.
I don't know.
People are saying he's the third player in the pick. I said, boy, I don't know.
I don't see it myself, but I don't know. I think those other 2 guys I feel a little more comfortable with.
And then further down, I'm a big Bo Nix fan, but he's a systems quarterback, and I like Michael Penix. I don't know if Penix is Tua, but he sure won a lot, and he sure made a lot of plays, and he didn't have a great team around him to begin with.
I like Penix better than I like Bo Nix. Bo Nix is older, and I don't know. I just don't see him being a starting quarterback in the National Football League, and I'm not sure I see Penix being a starting quarterback in the NFL.
And J.J. McCarthy?
Well, Jim Harbaugh thought he was going to be the first player taken. I don't see it. you know what? Throwing outside the numbers for him. I mean, he's got a good arm, but I don't think it's a great arm. And, I go back and I realize guys get better and, always are constantly, evaluating them and reevaluating. But you go back to that playoff game against TCU 2 years ago, man, that ball was going the other way because he was trying to throw those deep outs and he couldn't get it there. So I don't know. He's a pretty athletic guy. Maybe if he goes to the right organization, but I can't imagine him being a first-round draft pick.
I didn't think so either. And as I told John Riley, he was surrounded by studs. Great running game, pretty good wide receivers, great defense.
An offensive line.
He wasn't carrying the burden of the world on his shoulders. He was just doing what he had to do because there were so many other good people around him that did great things. So, John Riley, this has been spectacular.
Oh, yeah.
This has been fun.